What does it mean to live the examined life? What does it mean to show up as a woman using your intuitive and spiritual gifts? How do you do that? In this conversation, we're going to talk about using our gifts, being intuitives, bringing our whole selves to the table, moving forward, and find out what it means to live the examined life. All of that's going to happen with me and my guest, Corbie Mitleid, a psychic medium and professional tarot reader. We're going to talk about the examined life in this great conversation that you won't want to miss. Make sure you stick around to the end to hear the message I give to her and to learn about what the examined life means. So today, I have a very cool guest. Her name is Corbie Mitleid. She's an author, a psychic medium, a certified tarot master, and a past life specialist. Oh, hey! We are going to have so much fun. We've got so much in common, and we've already been chatting, and this is going to be a great conversation, but you're going to get a ton out of it because this woman is amazing. You're going to want to tune in all the way because Corbie has a powerful message for you as women about accountability, forgiveness, and living the examined life. And I can't wait to find out what that means. So let's get started. Hey, Corbie.
Hey, B, it's good to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. I'm excited because we have a lot in common, but you are doing some very cool things. And we're going to dive into all of that and just have a great conversation and make sure we leave our listeners with some things that they can take on their own journeys to live that sheer life and do what we're doing.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So let's talk about, for one, your world of what some might call the woo-woo, which I'm familiar with.
Yeah, that's the wiki woo stuff. Probably the usual thing is, okay, how did you start to? So I'm going to push the button. You're going to get the 30-second elevator speech.
All right.
When I was nine, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I thought, oh, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. Fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school. And yes, darlings, I am going to be 69 this week. Who screwed with the calendar? I was working part-time at Spencer Gifts. That was the year Live and Let Die came out with Jane Seymour as Solitaire, the card reader. So Spencer Gifts had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your David Crosby fringe jacket and your deck. 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still reading the cards. They fascinated me. So for 20 years, read for friends, kept my ego out of the way, and learned to be a clear channel for what I was getting. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That was the universe handing me my draft notice and saying, hello, you're working for us. So part-time since then, but meanwhile, a very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, executive recruiter, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest. Until 9/11. When my husband and I watched the towers burn, I turned to him and said, I need to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So for 1 year, I still worked corporate for a woman who threw files at my head when she didn't like what I told her. But then jumped ship, and I've been doing this full time ever since. 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That is huge.
Wow. Wow. I just want to take a moment and let people process what you just said and just the powerful journey. So it started when you were 9. And so you're going on 60, it's 60 years.
60. Oh my God. It is 60. I can't even say 50 anymore. Oh my God.
60 years of living in this gift. And I say it's a gift, and some people may not always consider it a gift. If you're one of the people who have been gifted the ability to communicate with the other side, sometimes I call it interdimensional communicators because sometimes it's channeling, sometimes it's mediumship, sometimes it's connecting just to your, I shouldn't say just, but to your guides. But even living in this for a while, a long time. And that you decided to make it your purpose, make it your life's work after 9/11 in order to serve at a higher level. I think just that's a way that you just showed up as a shiro to help other
Well,
people and to honor yourself and your gifts and what you've been asked to do.
my sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take you from point A to point B when you thought you couldn't make it, whack you on your shoulder and say, here are your wings. You don't need a flight plane. Get, I'm living my bliss.
Mm,
Because your sentence of passion is not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It is your vapor trail. When you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank, and God hands you a coffee and says, so tell me, you should be able to go, I did this. Isn't it cool? We all have a sentence of passion. In fact, everything that I do, I listen to me, my darlings out there. I am not special. You can do what I do, what B do. We are all wired like the same house plant. It takes desire, willing to work on your skills, and remembering that this is not about you. You are the tool that spirit works through. So keep your ego on the shelf and you can make miracles.
mm. It's an interesting thing because that idea of we can all do it, we all have it within us, and it really isn't about us.
Mm-mm.
Despite what you might see, if you see people doing this on television or online, it's not about them. They've been called to perhaps show up at a higher level with it's
Mm-hmm.
a bigger view, but it's still not about them. It's about what they're doing for the people that they're giving a message to that they need in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you've been doing, I want to call it message work, even through your other ventures and a lot of your other things you were probably bringing forth that divine inspiration and that message
Mm-hmm.
work as an author, as a writer, as a speaker, all of those different things you've done were
I would
part
not
of
disagree with that. I haven't ever heard it said that way, but I think that's on target.
it. Sounds like it. Yeah. Which is interesting because, I get teased because I had a million different jobs. But I tell my husband it was all leading to where I am now. Like I got all
That's
this
right.
training through all these other things so I could be where I'm at now.
Yes, that is so true. I know that when I do my work, everything I've been through informs it. Number one, it makes me a much better intuitive counselor. Number two, if somebody comes to me about their career, yes, I'm going to read the cards, but I can do it knowing what I knew as an executive recruiter in engineering and manufacturing who counseled people in careers for years.
You bring
If
all
someone
that to the
comes,
table.
right, they're coming to me, not just this part of my brain.
And I think that's really important for people to understand. If you've ever gone to someone who is a messenger, who is a reader, who is a intuitive psychic medium, whatever name that they may call themselves, they are a whole person.
Yes.
And that comes almost two-sided. They are a whole
Hmm.
person. And so, they're going to bring everything that they have to the table.
Right.
So
Right.
that
We're
that can
not like Madame Rosa on Mrs. Maisel. Thank you very much. We're just
you
not.
you bring yourself to the table and
Yep.
you're going to get the history, you're going to get their wisdom from other aspects of their lives. You get the whole person. I think it's really cool. And for you, you've got so much wisdom, I think probably built up over a lifetime that
Yes.
is probably why you are booked solid, or maybe not solid, but you're booked for a very long portion of every day. So,
Yes. Yes. I have become what I call a spiritual elder, not a boomer. And boy, is that we may even talk on that later. But being an elder is really, really important
hmm.
in the spiritual and metaphysical community today. You got to know that it's time for you to move off the stage a little. Bring up the millennials, the Gen Zs. They are not competition, they are the next generation. And they need to know their skills, how to be real, and how to be in service. Can't always be about us.
I think what you said is when you said that, it just came to me that and they're growing up and they're coming in a different generation when instead of you being able to curate and develop yourself and make mistakes kind of behind the screen without people, everyone knowing you get to learn and grow.
Yes.
It's like every good, bad, ugly thing, everything, if they're recording it,
Mm-hmm.
is for public consumption. So I want to talk a little bit about like there's accountability in that, right? Because you've got
Yes.
anyone watching, so you are very accountable. And I think with your
Mhm.
experience, you probably learned how to show up in a way of adding confidence, but also with respect, because I think there's a lot of nuances to giving readings that maybe younger people might not be familiar with if they only
Mm-hmm.
see the hype, if they only see the glitter, is that
Yes.
you may not be able to say everything just as it comes, like hard truth, being
Mm-mm.
real.
No,
There's a balance.
no, there is. And you got to know it's not about I can do all of this stuff. I mean, before we were on the air, you and I were talking about drive-by psychic shootings, which is my phrase for people who walk up to perfect strangers and say, I have a message for you and you have to take it. That's your ego talking. It really is. The most important thing is you are in this for service. Should you charge? Yes. If I did not charge, I couldn't do this work because there are bills to pay. But that's not why you should be doing this. You should be delighted that Spirit has supported you this way. But if you know you can't read somebody, you don't read them. If you
Right.
know you're not the right person for them, a professional intuitive says, I'm not who you need, but I'd like to suggest this person. Perfect example. If you came to me about health stuff, I'm kind of like your general practitioner, but the specialist, the person I consider one of the best medical intuitives in the US, is my best buddy, Stacy Wells. I would have no compunction into saying to you, Burnett, I'm not your health person, but if you're seriously concerned about this, I would suggest Stacy, best friend for 30 years. She's done stuff for me. I never recommend an intuitive I haven't worked with,
That makes
but
sense.
that's the example. Accountability, authenticity is know what you're good at, delight in what you're good at, but don't claim a mantle that doesn't fit you. It will play badly. I guarantee it.
Go into that a little bit more because I'm sure someone's listening. They're saying, "Well, what do you mean? I want to try this out and I want to try that out." But I don't think you're talking about
Try
that.
it. No,
Yeah.
no, try it. It's like, when I was at Brown University, I was a theater major, but I took a Swedish course. I am not speaking Swedish. Um, when Spirit hands you your draft notice and you take it, Spirit immediately starts rifling inside your internal file cabinet. Yeah, I'm dating myself again. To see what you got. What do I have? Theater major at Brown University, acted in New York, so I understand characters and stories. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer, so I know how to tell the stories. But I have been interested in history since I was a wee thing in single digits, which makes me really good at past life retrieval.
Mm.
Do not ask me to do spirit art because I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. Not my wheelhouse.
I'll say something later about that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really what it is. As you're learning, sure, try everything, but you are going to find things you love. My favorite things are tarot and oracle cards and past lives. And I mean, sitting here on my desk, right here, my everyday work tools, one tarot deck, seven oracle decks, because people work well when you can draw them pictures and they can see things. And that's why cards are useful. It doesn't mean that I'm not getting a direct channeling.
Hmm.
Um, Example, there's one card, it's the Three of Pentacles. It usually shows somebody in a church, stained glass window, talks about long-term mastery, etc. But when I was reading for a couple up in Canada, I looked at the card and I looked at them and I said, I have no idea why I'm saying this, but I think there is an abandoned or deconsecrated church within a couple of miles from here, and you're supposed to open up a cafe bakery. And they looked at each other and looked at me, and they now say, oh yeah, we know which one. We've been arguing about that for 2 years. That's why you get out of the way and you don't let your ego get in the way of the message.
I love that. It's like the cards are a tool, they aren't your crutch.
They're a doorway.
Yeah.
They're a doorway.
It's like, yeah, okay, we're on this subject.
Right. And there's also, if you're good, you understand the allegory in the cards, because when you do, you can take a message that would be scary and change it. This is the Tower card. Doom, gloom, destruction. People see this and panic. I say, no, no, no. Think of it like the imploding sports stadium. Okay. You're down in Atlanta. So I'll say, Braves need to build a new stadium. They got to blow up the old one first and clear the ground. That's what this card is saying. And this is also part of being an intuitive, a professional intuitive, when you understand how to deliver the message, it's going to get in better. You've really got to get a feel for, is your client a rookie? Do they understand? Are they skeptics? Are they realists? You'll give them the right message, but how you deliver it will change.
Right, right. So for the women who may be listening to this and they're thinking about I'm going to say their career path, and most people, most women, most people have intuitive abilities. They sense that they know something happens, they feel it in their gut, they get a little whisper, a sign, but they have no idea what to do with it. Okay, is it just coincidence that I thought of someone and then the phone rang or they texted me? And we have these synchronicities, but we don't trust them. And I want to take just a moment outside of, being a professional intuitive, just
Right.
in your everyday life, getting more comfortable with trusting that voice, trusting intuition, trusting your higher self.
It's because women are taught not to trust themselves. And what they want will get taken. You're 4. You're smart. There's a plate of cookies. You reach for the big one instead of the little one. Your mother sees you and goes, bad, selfish. So you're not even going to get a cookie. And she gives it to your little brother who eats it at you. Little brothers do this. But then she says, at least my generation, besides, girls who eat cookies get fat. Nobody likes fat girl. Do you really want the cookie? To the point where when we're 7, we think anything that we think of or want, we're bad, we're wrong, we'll be punished, and somebody else gets it. You have no idea how many women, empty nesters, they're retired. I say, what do you want to do? They panic and they say, I don't know. When we listen to our intuition, we learn to trust ourselves. We learn to love ourselves. We learn to trust that spirit is not vengeful, but is our best buddy who loves us, wants the best for us, and is willing to work with us. And one of the best ways to start this is keep notes. I thought that I should go to the drugstore before the groceries today, and I did that. And then you find out that had you gone to the grocery store instead of the drugstore, you would have been in the middle of an accident at Spaghetti Junction. See, I still remember my Atlanta stuff.
Yeah.
That's an example of higher self said, we want to keep you safe.
Right.
Own it, trust it. Don't think you're crazy, because you're not. You can do what we do. Even if you're never a professional, your intuition is part of your God-given gift as a woman, because we are more in touch with our emotions, because we get quieter, we think more about ourselves deeply, we don't have to out there. Our intuition can be finely honed, and we have a right to use it
In all areas. In all areas, as parents, I know I use mine all the time with my kids. They probably get annoyed. My daughter's like, Mom, get out of my head. I'm like, I'm not even trying. I'm so connected to you. But we use it in our work, in our relationships, with ourselves. We can use it in everything we do. It does not have to be something that is psychic related or intuitive related, because everything is connected anyway. So if you're using it, Like as a writer, I write science fiction and fantasy books. I am definitely getting the muse is hard at work in those
Yes,
processes. So I'm
yes.
not writing a book about mediumship or channeling or something, but I'm using the gift. And I'm sure if you've written, you said the Elf series you helped with.
Elfquest, yes, yes. It was an amazing series. It's still going 46 years later. Um, but
um,
let's take a totally non-wiki woo thing. There are some people who are good cooks, but they read through the book. And then there are people who can stick garlic, olive oil, and onion in a pan, sniff it, and know exactly what they want to do with it. That's their intuition saying, cook this.
mhm.
Both of them are cooks. The one who can do the sniff and figure doesn't have to go be a professional, but they have every right to revel in the gift they have been given and use
Right.
that gift to feed their family with joy and nourishment.
Hmm.
That's what intuition is. You are feeding your own life with joy and nourishment, and it will probably affect others in a very positive way.
Right. I like that. I like that. Feeding your own life using your gifts
Mhm.
and then you're feeding the ones who are connected to you. Yeah.
Yes. And
Wonderful.
even those that you may just run across, if you have developed the gift of compassion, you can make a difference with a stranger on the street in 2 minutes flat and maybe keep them from thinking about suicide, maybe keep them from giving up. You are spirit's head, hands, and heart on earth. What are you going to do with it?
Mm. In whatever you're doing,
Hmm.
in whatever you're doing.
Yes.
It's interesting you said that about maybe a month ago, I channeled Setha and I channeled a message from Setha, and it was on whether work was, the work of our purpose. And it was basically the message saying, whatever you do can be God's work, as long as you're doing it with the right heart and right intention.
Yep.
That whatever you
Exactly.
do is. And I think people need to remember that we are called here to do different things. And if everybody were doing the same thing, would be really messed up. We'd be hungry or homeless or naked because we were all trying to do the same thing.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
So we need the variety. We need every woman to show up as the hero she's supposed to be. But we also
Yes.
need that community because if she's doing this, she can't be doing everything else.
Hmm.
And so,
And
yeah.
it's also one of the reasons do not dare, don't compare. There were 70 million self-help books out there. Why did I need to write one? Because my perspective put that little twist on it that has gotten through to other people.
Mm.
I don't care what you want to do. Do not diss yourself out of it by saying, but there are so many out there. You are absolutely unique because of who your folks were, who your friends were, how you've gone through life, how you've developed your mind and your heart. Go do it. It's never wasted.
I like that because I know a lot of us we think, oh, it's so crowded. And because now you can see everyone doing it.
Hmm.
Before, you didn't see everyone doing it. There might have been a million people doing it, but you didn't know. It
Yep,
was-
that's right. And a lot of people are in what I call Neverland. When you say what you're going to do, they go, "No, that's not going to work. I'd never try that." You don't. Those are not your peeps. You want to be with the positives. You want to be with the people whose inner telescopes are clear and they're looking for the stars.
Hmm, I like that. I like that. See, all this wisdom, nuggets. So
I'm an old
finding
fart,
the
B. You get a lot. But before we leave that subject, I want to give two magic phrases to the listeners for when somebody tells them they can't do that, they shouldn't do that, bad, whatever. You don't, all you do is look at them and go, thank you for sharing. You may think that if you wish, and then you go do what the hell you want. You're not arguing, but you're not agreeing. You're
Mhm.
acknowledging, and off you go.
I like that. I'm more of a, I nod, just go about my business. Okay. But I think that's much more kind. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Yes. I want to change subjects just a little bit because
Sure.
you mentioned this 7-year-old, and I've read, basically by 7 years old, women have been programmed to shrink, period.
That's right.
We get programmed to shrink. How do you think about that as, people progressing? We're now way past 7, we're full on adults, perhaps having raised children or raising children, and sometimes passing on some of those same traits that we're trying to overcome ourselves.
Mhm.
Talking about how do we move through that graciously? How do we forgive the people who may have planted those seeds? How do we forgive our younger self, our older self? How do we move through that and say, you know what, at 7, at 10, at 15, maybe I was shrinking. Maybe I didn't give myself permission to do and be big and be bold. I'm here now.
That's right.
What would you say to that?
Well, first you have to acknowledge everything that you've been through has given you tools. I mean, we're not going to go through this on this podcast, but I will just say I have been through 3 bouts of breast cancer, 2 divorces, poverty, rape, and abuse. Do I look like I'm broken? No. They were all tools for me to make me an amazingly compassionate counselor. But
Mm.
when you are in a situation where you're bumping up against conditioning, always ask yourself 3 questions. What am I X about? X is whatever emotion you're feeling. Why am I X about that? And listen to yourself. But then the third question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? Stimulus, belief, response. When we acknowledge that that was then and this is now, that we can let go of what was told to us, especially if these people are dead, um, you can be who you are at this very moment. How many people go through life in high school and their name is Mary Margaret and everyone calls them Mary Margaret and they hate it? And they go to college and when they're introduced, they say, my name's Meg, because they want to be Meg. They change in that moment. It doesn't matter what people called them for 18 years. Now this is who they are.
Mhm.
Um, I was always the person in my family that I was the oddball out. They were all medical. I was an actress and a writer and a hippie and a rebel. So for years, they told me I was crazy and a failure. No, I'm not. That's a thank you for sharing thing. But having gone through that, my higher self said in your soul plane, in your pre-birth plan, we need to get you strong. We need to clear some other karma. We need to make sure that you are ready to do the work that we have all decided we want to do, we being our higher selves.
Mhm.
So I am not dissing or belittling everything that you have been through, listeners. I'm not. But today is when you can decide, are those old ghosts still going to grab you? Or are you going to be a ghostbuster and say, this is who I am right now. This is everything that's valuable in me right now. I am worthy. I am worth being alive. And I will move forward. Be fierce. It's all right. Fierce women are good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I hope the listeners receive that. And if you listen to it once, hit rewind and listen to what Corbie said again. Let that soak in. Let it soak in because that is it's a message of forgiveness and strength and showing up despite everything, despite what you may have gone through. And, I take this back to the Shiro's journey. When you are in that moment where you're called to action, there is going to be some resistance. It's just natural.
Mhm.
Your your brain is going to say, this isn't what I'm used to. I'm not comfortable. It's that fight or flight response. And in that moment, a Shiro who you read about, or you watch in a film or television, is going to say yes. They're going to show up eventually and say yes to that call. And then the hard work starts. It's not, it's not before. It's once they say, yes, I'm going to go on this journey to transforming my life, saving the world, saving myself, whatever that journey is. Once they say yes, then it begins. And that's when you have to, use what Corbie just said and ask, who do you want to be? And what would happen if you left some of the baggage behind?
Mhm.
And those things that came with it.
Exactly so.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Wow, I just wanted to be able to soak that in for a moment because you dropped some gems, some beautiful gems. Thank you so much, Corbie. Thank you. I mentioned to you before when we were chatting beforehand that I'm also an intuitive. And while I'm a medium, I typically do channeling. I focus on channeling instead. But that I give either the person who has graciously given their time as a guest a message, or give the audience a message. And you mentioned that you were okay with me giving you a message. But before I do, I want you to give our listeners a way to learn more about you, find your books, connect with you while I bring forth a message. So why don't you share with everyone how they reach you, and if you have something free that they can download, especially something that is evergreen, please let them know about that too.
Absolutely. Well, folks, you really can't avoid me. I'm all over the place. You find me primarily at my website, corbiemitleid.com. There are dozens of articles. You can find my books there. You can schedule readings with me. You'll also find me on Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. I have guided meditations, and my podcast is there, Little Pod Bites. And if you want to work with me on a regular basis, go find me at Patreon.
Thank you. Give me just another moment while I
Take it easy. The
bring
thing I
this.
will tell people is you're going to find a lot of what we talked about today in my book, Clean Out Your Life Closet. Go find that on my website. You will be able to download a free chapter. You can get a taste of the book and decide, is this something that you really want to look at in depth?
Okay. It's interesting because and
Yes,
you
ma'am.
probably know this as well.
Hmm.
Sometimes you get a message that is for someone else, but there's a part of it that spirit's also like, you need to listen to this too.
Oh, all the time, all the time.
You're
You
like,
know,
I'm like, this is not about me. We've said something.
that's when you're reading for a client and spirit goes, yo, dummy, you listen.
Yeah, listen, this is you, this is for you too. Um, so I got a couple things, and typically I jot it down so I don't forget in that moment. So the first thing that I was given was that the people coming to you, you've seen before energetically. And I feel like they were like, that was just the first message that you keep seeing recently the same type of energy coming
Hmm.
to you through these people's like different face, same energy, different face, same energy. But you're about to be given another level of integrating so that you can reach a broader audience.
Oh,
And
I'll take that one.
yeah, they said, and it's at a different, this on a different stage when you're 70. And they said it's going to integrate humor, theater, and readings.
Perfect.
Yeah, literally, I see you. We laughed about it earlier, and they were like, "Hold that thought, stand up," right? But doing this mix of your life experiences, some of the things you train for, but doing it in a very creative way, where you are back on stage but it's got this whole mashup that's just like very entertaining.
I'll grab it, Spirit. Now you got to send me an agent, and we're good to go.
They said you don't need an agent.
Oh, bless you.
You
Okay.
don't need an agent. You literally have everything you need to do it.
Okay. All right.
Except the time, they said.
I'll make the time. I will make the time.
But yeah, I see you starting on local stages and in local, and not even just stages. They said she's going to be in people's homes. They're going to host groups around her, and it's going to be very organic. But it's this integration that's not just standing there giving reading. It's an experience.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Just saying, asking if there's anything else that they want you to know in this moment. Yes, but they said not to share this part on the recording. So
Okay.
I'm just going to write it down so I don't forget.
Okay. A little personal.
Yeah, it's more personal. I don't like to share people's personal business too much.
No, that's okay.
So I do want to just wrap up and say, Corbie, I want to thank you so much. I've gotten so much out of this, and I know other people who listen, the women who listen to this, are going to be blessed by your knowledge, by your experience, by the words you spoke. And I hope that they do go out and find you, get your book. It might pour into them something that they need to move forward in their lives, so that when they're 69, they love what they're doing. And they get to get out of bed. They don't have to get out of bed, as you said.
You got it.
And I do want to ask one question, because I still need to know. What is this examined life?
The examined life is how I got through my cancer dance. This thing is happening to me and it sucks. I hate it, but I can't escape it. First thing you do is, what can I learn from it? Second thing, because I'm who I am, is how can I teach with it? But the magic phrase is next. Don't stay stuck. I was the Betty Crocker homemaker of tomorrow for New Jersey in 1973. But I don't keep telling people that, because I've moved on beyond it. So even if you had stomach cancer and you beat it 15 years ago, do not introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Mary Sue and I'm a cancer survivor. Who are you now? Don't give what happened power. And that goes with everything that we were talking about, problems when you were growing up. Who are you now? That's the diamond.
So you examine your life with that lens of, yes, I acknowledge what I've been through. How have I grown through it? How can I use it? How can I use it in my future? And who do I want to be?
Then next.
Yeah.
Next.
What's next? Okay, I had to make sure I got the answer to that. What is this examined life? So thank you for that. All right, so everyone who's watching this, go check out Corbie Mitleid. Her website is corbiemitleid.com. And share this episode. If you know someone who's an intuitive, if you know someone who has been struggling with using their gifts for their personal life or professionally, if you know a woman who just needs to hear an inspirational story from someone who has been there and who's lived this journey for a long time, please share this episode, because people need to know what's possible and that something can come after. That you can go through something and something can come next. That's how we do that Shiro life. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. Keep going, keep doing what you do to wake up your own inner Shiro. Just like Corbie has, just like I'm working on doing, I figure I still have a journey ahead of us. We all do. Haven't closed the book yet. So keep going. Thank you so much for watching That Shiro Life podcast. Again, I'm Burnett Sherman, your host and creator of That Shiro Life. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.